Hey guys, welcome back to Noah's MMA. Today we're talking about Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis, the aftermath of the fight. Took me a couple days to sort of think about it, watch some videos from other MMA channels, but I've come to a conclusion. I really feel like Sean won that fight. When I was watching it live, I did feel like Dricus had won the fight. Kind of felt like he won rounds 2, 3, and 4, but then rewatching it, I really feel like Sean won 1, 2, and 5. And I think a lot of other people would say the same. If you go back and watch round 2, it's undoubtable that Sean won. Here's the thing, is that these judges see just a jab, and they see Dricus with these really wide, loopy. The round to watch is round 2. You need to rewatch round 2. And you'll see that it does seem like Sean is just jabbing and he's not really throwing that many crosses, hooks, or kicks. But the thing is that what the judges don't really understand is that the jab can have a huge effect. And especially when you have a jab like Sean's, sometimes it's as strong as his cross. So it does sort of look like Dricus was winning with the striking because he was throwing with more aggression. And I think ultimately that's what won him the fight. It was the takedowns and the aggression. However, I really feel like that takedowns should be scored for both people. How well are you defending the takedown? If someone shoots a takedown and you stuff it or they take you down, do no damage, and then you get back up, you should at least be even on the scorecards. So if you think about it that way, if you watched the fight, you knew that Dricus had about 6 takedowns and 2 minutes of control time. But the thing is that Dricus really did nothing with those takedowns. He took Sean down, and then Sean popped right back up. There was a couple times where he got a couple elbows in, but that was it. This was a razor-thin fight. It was obvious that Sean won rounds 1 and 5. One of the interesting things about this is that it was a split decision. And Sal D'Amato, one of the most reputable, good reputation judges out there, gave Sean the fight. And the other two, which are just sort of like no names, people I didn't really understand, or I hadn't heard of before, gave it to Dricus. So that's a very peculiar thing. You got to think, is there some politics going on here? What's the deal? We can all agree Sean won round 1 and definitely round 5. He finished strong. I'm a big believer that you need to take the belt from the champion. You can't just do enough. And there was a lot of things that skewed the whole fight. For starters, was round 2. Sean was jabbing the hell out of Dricus. And although Dricus seemed like he was hitting him more and maybe threw more, what the judges really just don't understand, I want to say it again, is how strong Sean's jab is and how much Sean is deflecting. Dricus would throw a shot at Sean, but he'd let it roll off his shoulder, or he'd catch it. And they just didn't see that. Again, very peculiar because I felt like Dricus won watching it live, but I had to watch it back to really see what was going on there in round 2. An MMA creator named The Weasel did a breakdown, and that was the round that the Weasel actually felt like Dricus won. Dricus had more strikes, but the thing is that they were all sort of light strikes, whereas Sean had a few less strikes, but they were stronger strikes. So if you're thinking about who won this fight, I recommend you go rewatch it and watch round 2. Rounds 3 and 4 are obviously for Dricus. Rounds 1 is obviously for Sean. Round 5, again, it's razor sharp. It could have gone either way, but I ended up giving it to Sean out of aggressiveness. Which brings me back to why I feel like Dricus was given the fight. One, because he was showing extreme aggressiveness. He threw really looping big punches with lots of power behind it. So he was able to win the judges in that sense. And then also when Sean got the cut, which you should also watch, it seems like it was more of a headbutt. it showed. So it looked like he had a bunch of damage, but he probably didn't have as much damage as it looked like. Frankly, after the fight, it looked like Dricus lost. If you looked at his face, it was way worse than Sean's. Sean had that cut under his eye, which he needed surgery for, and they had to go through muscle to sew that up. But Dricus looked worse. And it's very interesting, this whole situation, because Dana White said that going into the 5th round, he had it 2-2, and then he thought Sean Strickland won the fight. So Dana admitted that Sean won the fight, but then he's not going to give Sean a rematch. And this really does make me feel like this is all politics. There is so much pressure on canceling Sean because something Dana said was that we don't suspend, fighters for hate speech or things that they're saying. But that's actually not true. They've done that in the past multiple times. So it makes me wonder, why is it that Sean is sort of on a leash to some degree? And I honestly think it's because Dana White is just absolutely, positively against censoring. And he's almost using Sean as a way to show, this company, we can say whatever the heck we want. This is 2024, and I think Dana is getting some sort of, pleasure out of the fact that Sean is an absolute wild man, says whatever he wants, kind of says some, homophobic stuff, and Dana just likes this because it shows that his company is not like other companies, and you can say whatever the heck you want. But back to the fight, Sean got headbutted, and I really think that it was all that blood dripping down his face that swayed the judges. I think there was a lot of stuff at play here. I think possibly the judges don't like Sean. It could also have been the crowd, because the crowd oftentimes plays a real part in the judges. I don't think they mean to do it, but the truth is a lot of these judges they don't know what they're watching. I think that damage should trump all. Even in a situation like this where Dricus was extremely aggressive, the thing is that Sean, on the other hand, was extremely defensive and was able to block most of those aggressive shots. Dricus literally only had one round where he threw more significant strikes than Sean. So in 4 rounds, Sean outpointed him in strike numbers. Sean had something like 50 more total strikes landed than Dricus. So they really are looking at this in a strange way. I do agree that control time does matter, but at the end of the day, it really should be damage. Now let's talk about Sean just as a person and how he acted after the fight. This guy really is what he says he's about. He's not playing a character, and I got to give it to him. This sportsmanship, the champion mentality, even though he doesn't feel like a champion, was completely on display. He started that fight, and it just felt different than the other fights he's been in. It felt like he was a champion. It almost felt like he was feeling like he was the champion. And after he lost with absolute humility. He congratulated DDP. He said thank you to the coaches on the other side. And this just makes me respect Sean even more. But the thing I'm kind of baffled about is why he's not getting an immediate rematch. And we don't know if this is for sure true, but it does make me wonder if the Dricus and Izzy fight is really what they're going to end up making. And to some extent, I understand that because they had bad blood before, and it's the battle of the Africans. But I do feel like they should have given they should give Sean an immediate rematch. If this was Izzy, he would have got an immediate rematch. If this was Robert Whittaker, he would have got an immediate rematch. I think Dana is kind of hot and cold with Sean. On the one hand, he thought Sean won, and he capitalizes on Sean's recklessness. But on the other hand, he feels like he's possibly a danger to the company, and even though he doesn't really care about that sort of thing, he's just a businessman. This guy just does this at this point, as the UFC becomes more and more of a entertainment, WWE sort of show style sport, the matchups they make become more particular and cater more to what the fans want to see. The interesting thing, though, is that there's been a lot of polls done on YouTube about who, Sean should fight next and who Dricus should defend his title against. And most of you guys are saying that Sean should get an immediate rematch. So if it is really up to the fans at the end of the day and what makes the most money and who's going to buy the pay-per-view, they should do it with Sean, and Dricus should defend the belt with Sean. You got to wonder, like, where does Khamzat Chimaev fit in all this? He was promised a title shot. You got to think about Bo Nickel. Like, although Bo Nickel probably won't fight for the title, I would say for, like, maybe another year, I would honestly bet that Bo Nickel would beat almost any middleweight currently in the top 10. Now, I know that's a pretty bold statement, but just what I've seen from Bo, how he holds himself, how he showed that he is a dynamic striker, I'm sure that guy will be a champion in the next 2 years. I don't know if you guys watched the fight, but it was awesome. I'm still thinking about it, obviously. That's why I'm making this video, and I'll probably make some follow-up videos just going into more specific things regarding the middleweight division and other stuff that's going on in the UFC. If you guys want to subscribe to the channel, go ahead. And all it does is lets me know that I'm doing something right here with these videos. But if not, all good too, man. So we'll talk to you guys next video, man. Have a good one. Peace.